Greatness. Greatness. Bow, bow, bow. Greatness.
There are 2 times to be great, when you feel like it and when you don't. Welcome to the Renewing the Mind podcast. I'm your host, Pastor Tyler Sanchez. Joined with me is my dad, Dr. Raul Sanchez. How you doing, Dad?
I'm doing amazing. I'm feeling pumped, just like back at NDSU in the locker room and the weight room. We used to say, those who stay will play. Those who play will be champions. Once a champion, always a champion.
There's the ring kiss.
Let's go.
On this podcast, we teach you how to flip your mindset by talking through our 3 pillars, which are renew your perspective, move towards uncertainty, and find what's awesome about that in every situation. If you missed last week's podcast, you can head over and listen to our podcast on whatever platform you listen to podcasts on by searching Renewing the Mind podcast. If you'd like to watch the video version, head to YouTube and search Renewing the Mind podcast. Last week we had Mom on the show. She replaced
So
you.
you miss her?
Huh?
You miss her?
Yeah, it was an upgrade.
Separation
Now
anxiety right now?
Yeah, we got downgrade.
She killed that. Manage your mentals, though.
She did nice. It was nice.
She did good.
We talked about who we are, part 2, Mom's side of the story. You know, she cleared up some things. We talked about you being a bad dude. We found out you're a home wrecker. I mean, you stole her from another relationship.
Look, I might not have got thrown under the bus, but I desperately lost my leg.
Oh, dude. I mean, it was wild. She talked about what it was like to be 16 and pregnant, and then their parents' response and all that. And I did want to say, I talked to my grandpa last night, Pawpaw, and he said that something that we kind of forgot to discuss, but he said that when he walked into the room, if you have a chance, go watch the YouTube version or obviously listen to it. But Mom talked about when Pawpaw walked downstairs after they just found out, and he came in the room and he just said, "Let's gather together and pray." And Pawpaw said that when he first walked in the room, Mom started saying that my life is ruined. Yeah. My life is ruined. My life is ruined. And he just said, "Hey, honey, your life isn't ruined. It's just changed."
Correct.
And then that was kind of their sentence that they moved forward with, is just, "Hey, your life's not ruined, but it's changed." And then they went and picked you up for a family dinner.
Yeah.
Which is wild.
So, this is the backstory part of that. We had an agreement like, okay, let's pray about it for 2 weeks. We're not going to tell anybody. Then she went home, and then Fran had that Holy Spirit moment. She came down and said, "You're pregnant." And then she, was bawling and crying and all that stuff. Yep. And then next thing I know, she called and says, "Dad's on his way." I'm like, "On his way for what?"
"To kill you."
"To pick you up." I'm like, wait, what? So she kind of explained what happened. I see him pull up. I hang up the phone, and I'm just like, do I just not go? What do I say? Can you imagine?
So yeah, that's when you hear the knock on the door, you turn the lights off and lay on the ground.
Yeah, hide behind the couch, pretend nobody's there.
Right.
So I get in the car, and he always hums. He's humming. So as he's humming, we're kind of driving. It's kind of awkward. He starts talking about football, weightlifting, and just whatever. As we pull up, he had a long drive.
That's mind-boggling that he would even talk to you. I'd be like, sit in the back seat.
No, he kept
Don't talk to me.
I mean, now looking back, he's a salesman. He's a sharp dude. I think he was trying to just get me to talk. Honestly, looking
just
back,
trying to open
he was
up.
just football. How you doing? How's your lifting? And he didn't mention a thing. And then he was like, "Yeah, we should have a good dinner and stuff like this." As we were pulling up the hill, he was just saying stuff like, the Lord will take care of us and stuff like just basic like hope stuff.
Wild.
So then I get in the house and still think there's going to be a bunch of people who are going to drill me. It was sit down and eat. I don't know if we had soup or something, but we sat down.
Clam chowder.
Clam chowder is what I was thinking, but yeah.
Sweet. Yeah. So go take a listen and head over to YouTube and watch Mom's side of the story. It was a good one. Before we jump into today's content, we have a segment we like to call our WAT Moment.
What?
WAT is an acronym for What's Awesome About That, WAAT.
Yes, sir.
You got a WAT moment?
I do. So we're going to be talking about vitamin D today. So I got a vitamin D story. So I got a mom and a high school girl come in a couple weeks ago, and all the symptoms of depression. This is an A student, a climber, what we call a climber,
Slide your mic up a bit.
Doing grades, working hard, just killing life a little bit. And all these symptoms of depression, all of a sudden not turning in work, can't get motivated, had a few D's, missing assignments, stuff like that. Her language is like, "Yeah, I can get this stuff up. I just got to turn in some work, but I just can't get motivated." And so literally you go through a depression screen just in your head, ask questions. It's 100% yes to everything. Appetite down, sleeps, always too much, just not hungry, everything, pain, soreness, trying to socially isolate. And so the question was, is she depressed? And the second question is, if yes, do we need medicine? So I just said, so hold on, let me ask you. So I asked her some deep sleep questions, how she's doing. And then I asked her some nutrition questions. And just after a few questions, I said to her mom, I said, she's not depressed. She needs vitamin D. And so we asked her to go get a 25 hydroxy test, just get your blood checked for vitamin D. So there's a healthy range in there, like 25 to 70. Her range was low off the chart, which is 13. And so I got the email a couple of days later. In fact, I think it was the very next morning, like, hey, we did this. This is what's up. Okay, we're starting vitamin D supplements. So 3 weeks from there, I saw her again, doing better, back to normal, starting to climb again, doing life. And this is the WAT moment, which is sometimes we think of mental health as she's mentally broken, like there's something wrong with her. But really, it's the nutrition game. And if you fire up nutrition correctly, the brain can function. So that's what we're talking about today. That's an amazing WAT moment.
Slide your mic up a little bit.
Okay.
There you go.
I've been gone for a week, so all this stuff.
You got to get back into it.
All of
keep your distance closer.
It's like when you get in your car.
Before we fire you.
No, this is exactly my life. I get into my truck and it's all squashed up. The steering wheel's right here on my chest, and I'm like, "What? Where's the?"
Actually, that's the worst.
It's
ever.
the worst ever
Your
because
wife
my
drives
knees
your
hit.
car.
I can't.
You
And you hit the button.
like,
yeah, and then you want just to go like that, and then it's just like it's like this, like it's so. Oh man, just see.
Hey,
That's what happened.
welcome back.
Welcome
I got a
to
WAT moment. As you know, we're in the coronavirus and the struggles of that and what that's doing to just society and culture. And we have a requested mandate from the CDC to not be in gatherings more than 10 people, and gyms are closed, restaurants are closed. And so what we're having to do as a church is rethink what the modern church looks like, because what we think of church is, Wednesday night at 7 for me being the youth pastor, and then Sunday morning, the 3 services where you corporately worship, come together,
right,
hear a sermon. And so what does that look like now that we can't meet? Number one, they've asked churches to close the doors, from public. And so what does that look like? If you can't meet, then what does church mean? And what does church look like? And, from our standpoint, we say that the church is the body of Christ. It's not the 4 walls. It's not the meeting, but that is what we do the most of. So it's like, how do you reach people for where they're at? And today we're more connected than we've ever been with social media. And, but how does that look when we are so used to doing the Wednesday, Sunday routine? And so it's allowed us to have some conversations about, how to reach people the other 6 days of the week, or, 5 days of the week if they come on Wednesday nights. And, cause really you're talking about 2 hours a week where they sit 1 hour Sunday, 1 hour Wednesday. That's if they come. The average person attends church once every 6 weeks.
Whoa. I wouldn't have guessed that.
Yeah. So it's cool. The WAT moments is, we've had conversations that we probably should have had, not just at Morningside in our church, but church globally, as is saying like, man, how do we rethink reaching people where they're at? So it's been cool. We've, live streamed, pushed social media platforms more. And I think that regardless of when the coronavirus ends, is definitely going to be something that stays because of the coronavirus.
Yeah.
So.
And this is how life goes. Like there's a wrench that gets thrown into your life. You push through that uncertainty. And what happens, most of the people who get in and fight and climb and strive, they look back and they go, I would have never, ever planned that. But I thank God that I'm here.
Since it happened.
Yeah. Like dudes I work with in the office who've lost their job. They recycled the career and they've done some training, and they would never go back. Like when you're here or here, what would you do? Yep. Like in a heartbeat, I pick this every day. But see, they didn't have the skills to jump because It's scary. But they get shoved to it. You're forced. Yep. Correct.
Sweet. Well, all of that brings us to today's content. And the title of today's show is How to Remove the Stigma of Mental Health.
Correct.
So we're going to be talking about the physical health and mental health cycle, how those are closely related and the transmission between the two. And then we're going to look at the effects of protein on the brain and how those things all together, working together, can really change people's lives.
100%.
Let's go. Stigma. How do we remove the stigma of mental health?
So first of all, the stigma is like, think about like a bunch of cows, you drive by and you see the ear tags. In other ways, you'd look at a horse or, again, it's livestock and they're branded, with like the farm, they get a brand on them. That's literally the stigma. Stigma is a branding. It comes from an old Greek area where they used to put a dot or a tattoo, like a permanent marking on you. And so that's the stigma. if you show up into a mental health office and just get a couple talks, just a couple check-ins, especially like a primary one for kids, teenagers would be like a breakup. They've been dating somebody, 8 months, have a breakup. They're literally depressed, but it's situational. We could work through it.
Yep.
But the stigma of I'm mental, I'm broken, like I'm damaged, I'm refurbished goods. They don't check in. And then they do stuff like get online and look, and they find some people, and the people they find are super dark because they're depressed and hiding. So they change their identity and they do bad things. So the stigma lasts a long time. So how do we reverse the stigma? Is the stigma of mental health is pretty hard for kids. Like if kids do 5 hours of social media a day, they have a 60% chance of being diagnosed with depression and anxiety.
Whoa.
And so I don't know a kid who comes in the office who's on less than 5 hours. There's no way. So you look at texting and Snap
Throughout the whole day.
You add up all their media all day long. They're in that 6 to 10 hours. And that's why a lot of them are so broken.
Yep.
So, but the stigma is like, okay, this is me. I'm branded, right? And I just sit down and take it. That's the stigma. So how to remove the stigma is you got to get up and move. You can't take that as.
So rather
my
than just
identity.
saying like, this is who I am, this is the way I was born.
Yes.
And just being completely okay with that stigma, taking it off.
Correct. Or like,
changing.
perfect. Like my family, like, okay, our whole family is depressed. Our whole family has been battling depression for years. Like I struggle. Mom will tell you, Stacy will tell you that, I get discouraged. I get down.
Yep.
And so my language to her, I just kind of our little buzzword, I walk up to her and I'm like, hey, and she's like, what's up? And I'm like, do you feel alive? I don't feel alive. That's my thing. And so she knows she'll just pray with me real quick. And then I'm like, hey, I'm going to go work out, or I'm gonna go shoot my bow, or I'm going to go on a bike ride. Like I've got to not just stand there and take it. I've got to actually move towards something. I've got to do something.
Yep. And
so how do we remove the stigma is first of all, flipping it, just to flip a switch in the mindset of, okay, I'm feeling depressed. Great. I brand myself and I go hide. I go isolate. Or I go, wait a minute. No, this isn't who I am. I'm going to rip the tag off. How do I fix myself? How do I get somebody to understand where I'm at?
Yep.
And now I got to push through somewhere. And so how you fight the stigma is like, I need to check in somewhere.
Yep.
And that's the whole entire process. Look, we're all broken. We all have thoughts that are broken.
Right. At
some point we all hide and run from something. Like, we talk about my book, but it's like still going to take pretty much a year.
Yep.
When I set a goal of,
8 weeks.
8 weeks. Yeah. Me just being totally green on that kind of concept. But so that's the stigma piece. So we remove it by pushing into it, not just accepting a name tag.
I mean, working with youth all the time, I hear this, students will come in on Wednesday night. I'm like, how you doing? Oh, I'm depressed. Like they just say it. I think the tough part for me is it's that fine line between, it definitely is the popular thing to do, to discuss it, and to, we're shining the light on it, and we're talking about it more as a culture and as a society. But what that causes some people to do is to lump themselves into that, to be a part of something, or to be connected, or to feel like they belong, and they're trying to belong in the wrong area. And so you told me that depression is actually 21 days, or can you, what's 14 days of
basically being a couch potato, basically
not wanting
out.
to eat, do
Correct.
anything. Right. So when I talk to students, I say that, hey, how long have you felt this way? Well, an hour or two. Or like you said, when she broke up with me.
Correct.
Or, when I'm in 7th grade and he broke my heart, and I'm never going to be, I'm going to be single the rest of my life.
Yes.
And that, those are like situational things that just make us feel sad, but that's not what we're talking about when we're talking about
not at all
a mental health struggle.
No, that might be called like a breakdown. Like in a car, you got a flat tire.
Yeah. Cause I don't struggle with anxiety or depression or mental health, but I've had moments where I've had a week of anxiety.
Yeah.
My car broke down. I don't know how I'm going to fix it. It's at the shop. I'm waiting for the mechanic to call back. And there's that constant in my head. How am I going to pay for it? What's going to happen? Or anything like that,
Correct.
or when I had breakups in high school and middle school, and even in college, it sent me through a week or two of like, you're gloomy, but I wasn't depressed.
Right.
Right. I mean, there's a clear difference.
Right. And this is why in Renew the Mind Clinic, our very first step is to renew your perspective. So instead of hanging on to those first person goggles of what am I going to do? I'm wrecked. My life's over. Right. I'm depressed. I'm just going to take this branding tag. Instead, you put down your first person goggles, right? And you pan back, you pan out, you go to third person, and then you take a look at yourself from above and you go, wait a minute. okay, so if I have to get a bus pass and I have to call somebody, if we have to go down to one car, it's not the end of the world.
That's easy to do for someone else, because I can do that with Stella. Or my daughter, she's 4. I pull her aside and I say, hey, look at this situation, look what's happening, and then now explain it, or tell me why you're feeling this way. Well, I'm mad because of this or that. And then I can get her to see a different perspective.
Yeah.
But when you're telling me to do that for myself or anyone else listening, that's difficult.
It is in the moment, because you're in so deep, like you've zoomed in with binoculars. You've got this problem, whatever you're going to call it, is right in your face. Yeah. It's hard to see it. So like in a video game, when you're stuck, to do your pin down somewhere, what you do is you hit your button and you pan back and you look at the big map. And you think, oh, there's cover over here. And then you just get up and take off. It's no different. The problem is we haven't practiced it enough. So where it becomes very difficult.
Yep.
What we don't want you to do, no matter where you're at, is just sit and get stuck. You can't just get stuck. That's it.
Yeah. At church, we just got through a series called Anxious for Nothing. And one of our lines the week I preached was that prayer changes your perspective.
Correct.
Or prayer brings perspective in the midst of anxiety.
Yes.
And that's what we believe, is that when you can pause and pray about it, we call it like a strife break at our house.
Yes.
And to really just, like you said, remove yourself from the immediate emotion struggle. I mean, that goes back to our relationships. How to win relationships.
Yes, correct.
Pause, think about the situation, put everything into perspective, allow emotions to be removed.
So real quick, walk through that. Okay, so you pause, do a strife break, you and Alicia, because you're anxious about the car. Let's pretend that's true.
Yeah, anxious or fighting or just there's just moments in life where it just seems like you're just like rolling down a hill and you just can't. I mean, it's just constant.
So the cognitive side is stop, push away from the problem, and take a different view, like a view from over the top of your shoulder. Like if I'm behind you and you walkie-talkie me like, Dad, how's it look from behind me? So I'm standing behind you and above and I can see ahead of you. It's like that, right? But tell me, okay, so you're in this midst, you two do a strife break, which is you circle up and pray. How does that change your perspective?
Yeah, sometimes we pray, sometimes we it usually starts because we're either both mad, both stressed, both anxious. So we turn all electronics off and we turn on some worship music. And usually I've been doing YouTube because I want my daughter to see people worship. So one's 4 and one's 1.5 years. And so with me just sitting there with my eyes closed, that doesn't really show her worship. Yeah. So we'll put on some Bethel or Elevation or something, like an actual, live set, and she can see people worshiping. And we just pause. Stella can't do anything. I mean, it's just chill out in the living room. She can grab a couple books if she wants. And it just allows us to slow down and really take a couple breaths.
Awesome.
So
right. Yeah.
Cool. So that's the part 1, the stigma, how to remove that. What is that? Number 2, we're going to talk about transmission between mental health and physical health.
Yeah, correct. So the language here is STP. So the stigma transmission protein, but I want you to think of this as like STP oil, like for your car, like the STP oil treatment, because like this, if you really get this down, this is literally going to be like a treatment for your mindset when you're stuck and feeling broken. So here's what I want you to focus on. So we talk about this as being a mental illness. Okay. The brain has 1 billion neurons. It's connected to the heart. It's connected to the gut, which is what we call the second brain. The second brain has 100 million neurons. Here's what's crazy. The transmission of information is from the gut, the second brain, okay, to the brain 90% of the time. This is the small brain communicating with our big brain 90% of the time. That means only 10% our brain is managing our gut, okay? Here's how I see it. Like the head is the order person. Like, I grew up in the restaurant business, okay? So the head's up there just waiting, and they drop this big order, right? And the brain gets impatient, and the gut's like, chill out, I got to work my skills, right? And the gut is like the cook cooking back there, just making up the skills, waking up, and then it sends data packets back up to the brain, which is to help the nutrition, which is to help the neurotransmission, okay, which is to help you load up with all the micro nutrients that you need for the brain, okay, and especially the neurotransmitters, like the big ones like dopamine, norepinephrine, okay, serotonin. Those are the big 3 that help mental health, but they all come from the gut. They're made in the gut. So this transmission between the gut and the brain, it's bidirectional. So the head can wreck the gut can wreck the head. So here's the question. How am I going to order something from my brain to the gut, and my gut is going to make it if it doesn't have the nutrition? Have you ever been trying to make cereal You pour a bowl, get out your spoon. You know, back in the day, my Big Daddy bowl.
The worst, dude.
And then you open the
milk in
fridge. Yes. And you just
Really?
like, you completely melt down because like, what? I just wasted cereal?
Just
What?
happened last week. I went to the portable cereal, went to the fridge, and for some reason I was about to pour the milk, and I was like, I should see if it's rotten. And I looked, and it was like 2 weeks rotten.
No. Did you
Yeah.
smell it too?
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah, nasty.
I threw it away. I'm like, now what I'm gonna do?
Yeah.
She's
Can't
like,
get it out for 2 days.
Put water in it. No, just
Yeah.
ate it dry.
Oh, that's nasty.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the whole transmission side of that. When you're starting to figure out like, wow, I'm depleted. Wow, like I can't do this. Okay. So listen, this is super cool. So back to that WAT moment of the vitamin D. Okay. In a study in 2019, it just happened. It's in the Journal of Frontiers in Psychiatry. Okay. So basically this is after the fact. So they take 290 psychiatric patients who are in a setting. Okay. They're already placed there for mental health issues. And they run them through basically a 25 hydroxy test to see their vitamin D levels. Okay. And what happened is they found out that 274 out of the 290, so 94%, were completely deficient in their vitamin D levels. Now, here's what's crazy. So VDID, so vitamin D insufficiency or vitamin D deficiency, okay? So VDID. So basically on the VDID, they were all low. And so here's the question. Are those people vitamin D deficient, which causes the mental health issue? Okay, that's where the side of the coin I'm on. Or is it because they're depressed or anxious or somehow have a mood disorder? Now they have vitamin D deficiency. I don't believe that. The research is still searching for those pieces. But if you look deep into the functional
So it's like
medicine,
chicken or the egg, what comes first?
Correct.
Okay.
But if you look on the functional medicine side, which is like how you repair it, how do you fix a lot of mental health issues, it's going back to straight nutrition. You go back to 100% straight nutrition, like good nutrition, not just like, going through McDonald's or something.
Not getting the McChicken instead of a Big Mac.
No, like I'm going to eat healthy. So I get a salad and I get a bunch of fries and I still get like a 40-ounce Coke. Like,
Diet.
Yeah, no, like you're eating healthy. You're eating for nutrition. Okay, so when you go back to it, you can fix the brain. Now, low deficiencies in vitamin D, there is a 60% chance of you being diagnosed with a mental health illness if you are under that 20 number for vitamin D. So like they want you to be between 25 nanograms per milligram all the way up to the top is 100. But they really want you between that 50 and 70 number. And so people who are down in that 20 or lower, they're 60% more likely to be diagnosed.
Just vitamin D?
Vitamin D.
That's the only thing that's connected to that?
Yeah, well, because there's
the
so
main
many.
one?
Yeah.
So what does vitamin D do?
Vitamin D is a hormone. It's a hormone that regulates your neurotransmission. And if you put that stuff in the gut, especially vitamin D3.
Because I'm not trying to sound dumb, but like the only time I think of vitamin D is vitamin D milk.
That's called advertising.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Like I didn't like.
That's Saturday morning cartoons.
That's
like,
right.
I'm getting buff.
That's right.
I'm watching cartoons.
Yeah. Eating a sugary cereal.
Yeah.
I just, if we're being honest, I think maybe I'm the only one, but I would think most people don't think about a vitamin D supplement. I mean, you hear fish oil, you hear protein.
Fish oil is another one. Yep.
You hear, like take vitamin C,
Yes.
vitamin B,
Yes.
for energy, but
Correct.
vitamin D is not one that I've.
Yeah. And especially in our northern plains where we have daylight savings, people just absolutely get wrecked because we don't synthesize the sun. Synthesize. Can't even say that.
I don't even know what that word is. No, I'm just kidding.
We don't synthesize.
We don't process the sun.
We don't process the sun because listen, like when we do daylight savings,
because it's bright less.
yes, it's dark. I
The
wake
sun's
up
out
in the
less.
dark. I
Yeah.
go to the office in the dark. I get home from the
You come
office
out
in the
because
dark.
it gets dark at 5,
Yes,
4:30
correct.
at some.
And then especially during that time, especially here where we live, man, in the tundra, it's freezing cold. Like, do you want to go out for a walk? I'm weird, but I look
sit by the window.
Yeah.
That's what my dog does.
Yeah, no, you can. That's actually for sure. Like there's a thing called the SAD lamp, SAD, so seasonal affective disorder. And you can buy these lamps. If that's you can go to, a good place to go to is mayoclinic.com, search the light you want, and then you can find that lumen, kind of that model, and then you can order it. But basically talk with your doctor and make sure you get that programmed. But basically you sit under that light like 15 minutes a day and it helps you synthesize the vitamin D so you can actually have.
So
these
if I'm
neurotransmission.
vitamin D deficient, I just go to Walmart and buy a vitamin D supplement. What do I do?
No. If you're vitamin D deficient, you want to go get basically just go to your family doctor and tell them, well, hey, why are you coming for the appointment? I want to get my vitamin D levels checked. It's called the 25-hydroxy test, and they'll be able to see your blood levels
To double check and make sure.
And then they put you on a protocol, like take 2 of these a day for 4 weeks.
So
one
let them
for
do it.
6
Don't just go to
weeks.
Walmart and start just
No.
Skittles
No.
bag eating these
Because
vitamin Ds.
yeah, because they'll once you know what to do, then you can Google your best one, top rated one, but it's got to be vitamin D3 because that's one that we can
Go to your doctor first.
methylate better. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So go to your doc first because that's that important. So yeah, so vitamin D, low deficiencies, all right. Not just mental health, but it's physical health. And this is the whole idea. So, okay, physically, like more bone disease, more muscle tissue degeneration, problems with then hormone imbalances, mood disorders and depression are huge because it's a hormone. So it's throwing off the rest of your hormones in your body.
Dude,
It's
we
like,
should have got this sponsored by a vitamin D supplement.
bro, I don't know how to do this.
I don't know either. I don't even know.
You're
if
the
we can.
man. I just show up.
For our 5 listeners and 10
Yeah.
viewers,
This is like that.
this is not an ad. We don't know. We're not tied to vitamin D.
No.
We do not have stock in. But
No. I'm not trying to sell
Yeah,
you.
no, I'm just joking.
I'm like
But
that dude, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. He just shows up like in his socks and just sits down with notes. Like, you got to run this show.
I got it.
Bryce,
we're
get on
gonna
that.
work on it. Yeah.
Nate, get on it.
Come on. We need a
Bunch of lazy
we need
bum.
an
What kind of
ad.
team you got going here, bro?
We are now hiring for no.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. So the transmission goes back and forth. What about protein?
Protein is king. Protein is king. Well, little K. Jesus is king. Big K.
Shout out to Kanye.
Big K. Big K.
Okay.
Okay, little K. We're talking about little K. So protein is king, little K. So protein builds your muscles. Protein helps you repair tissue. So here's what's stupid crazy. At every level of any age, when they look at overall health, the child, the teenager, the adult woman, the adult man, the middle-aged woman, middle-aged man, the elderly man, elderly woman, whoever has.
So anyone.
I want to make this point.
Okay.
At every single level of the game that we call life,
If you are breathing.
Okay. Yeah, right. So here's a couple examples. A few years ago, I was working with the Musketeers. I was a performance coach for them. And the team basically pushed me a dude. He was like, hey, do me a favor, doc. Fix this human. He's like, a hockey player.
He's struggling.
He's okay. He's struggling, yeah. And so I just started asking him some similar questions. What's up? What's going on? You got a girlfriend? How are your parents? What's happening? You got some money? Like, just checking in with him. And then everything seemed checked out fine. I'm like, so what's wrong with your game? He's like, I don't know, man. He's like, I just lost my confidence. That's his thing. I lost my confidence. Yep. So how'd you lose your confidence? He's like, I don't know. I just can't play very well. So I just back up. How long this has been happening? He's kind of going 2 weeks. I figure out really quickly, okay, 2 weeks, they've been on a road trip. So they've been gone for 2 weeks. So they're living in a hotel. Something's off, right? So I started asking about his sleep and nutrition. And he's like, yeah, so since I'm not at home, I don't eat very well. I was like, okay, so what's your normal diet? And he's like, well, I just kind of eat whatever, whenever. No real food. This dude's eating ramen packets at home. He's eating granola bar packets, Skittles packets, anything out of a wrapper he's eating. So on the road, dude's eating 8 bowls of cereal per day.
Did you say 8?
8, as in Kobe's old number, 8.
That's like a gallon of milk on top. I mean, that's a
8.
lot.
And so I'm like, whoa, did you say 8? He's like, yeah. I was like, dude,
That's like a box a day.
it's
if
a
not
box and a
2.
half. I asked him all this, box and a half a day. And I'm
I
like,
know my cereal.
bro, your brain broke. That's a Dr. Hyman term, right? My dude, I've been following him since
Yep.
2004, right? Dr. Hyman. But he's like, I'm like, your brain broke. And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, dude, your kitchen and brain are fighting. He's like, dude, what are you talking about? So I walked him through the process I just
The
did.
transmission.
And so I'm like, okay, so how much protein can I push in you? He's like, I don't eat protein. I'm like, how much protein can we push in you?
And this is an athlete.
This is an elite athlete. Like, these dudes are top 2% hockey players in the country. Okay. And so I finally make a deal with him. I'm like, I'll make the deal with you. I ain't gonna wreck you by pulling your cereal from you. I said, but you got to do me a favor. Every other meal's got to be a chicken breast. We finally narrowed down bland chicken breast. Think of that. A chicken breast that you just put in your mouth and just pull it apart like string cheese.
No. I'm done.
I'm like, no sriracha. I can hook you up with some ghost pepper sauce.
No.
Like,
There's
holla at
nothing
your
worse
boy.
than a
I
dry-
got you.
There's nothing worse than dry chicken breast.
Right. I'm like, man, I can cook this so many ways for you.
So
Let me hook
just
you
have
up.
to chew it.
And he was like, no, I'll just do it like that. I'm like, salt, pepper? Like,
Oh, no.
right? I mean,
Give me cereal.
Nothing.
Give me the broken
Okay,
bread.
literally like day four of him doing protein. I made a deal with him like, you got to do protein first. How about that? And he was like, for breakfast? And I was like, okay, no, you're right.
I was about to say, dude, don't make him do that.
No.
You got dry mouth from sleeping.
tried,
and
yeah.
You get a dry chicken breast.
I'm like, okay, start with cereal. And then
Gonna suffocate the kid.
Yeah, because he tended to have a bowl of cereal about every 2 hours. So I'm like, okay. So
First of all, I have so many questions for this kid. Like, does he
Bro.
bring a bowl with him? Does he bring a spoon with him?
I'm telling
Does
you.
he have milk with him?
The
He just
story.
carries it around.
I need to write a book just on. I call them excuses. Like that's why at our
I'm
house.
saying more. How do you actually throughout your day eat 8 bowls? Like I would have to bring milk in a bowl with me. I mean, you just got it. Like
Yeah,
you got a box stored everywhere you're at.
Yeah, he just takes.
I'm almost more impressed that he can do that every day.
Takes a spoon and bowl, works it out, put it up, go again. You know,
Wow.
can't walk travel with the box.
Okay. So you got chicken breast. What happened?
So 4 days later, at this alternating cereal, chicken breast all the way. The coach gives me a text. He's like, "Hey, thanks for fixing him." I was like,
Problem solved.
I didn't. Chicken did. Like, do you see what I'm saying? Like,
So the transmission between his gut brain and his head brain was off because of the lack of protein.
absolutely lack of nutrition. Like, how
Yep.
much nutrition's in a bowl of cereal, right? Now, calories aren't the same. Like, you can have 150 calories from a Coke and 150 calories from a steak. Like, think about that.
Give me steak all day long.
Right, but look, just think about that for a minute of what happens. Now, let me explain this process, okay? So here's how I explain it to families, especially with kids. Okay, so here's the thing. Lego Star Wars, right? These guys are like fighting each other, pulls out the lightsaber, whoosh, right? Knife somebody down. When these little dudes like get wrecked, they fall apart in all these little pieces, like, right? Okay, now the cool piece is the next dude comes up and kind of like uses his little force choke power and he sucks up all these pieces, he gets all these pieces up. And he can then level up himself however he wants to, right? I was thinking about this the other day because Terrence is home trying to get me to play COD. And it's not like a
Call of
death
Duty.
thing. You try to collect all this cash.
Yep.
You're running around trying to like blow people up and get their money, right? So every time I die, because I die a lot, there's this camera and you see this guy who just wrecked you, comes up over you, runs over all your gear.
Picks up everything you dropped.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so when I finally get a kill and I go over it, it doesn't pick up some things. Like there's an ammo box. I run over the ammo box. It doesn't pick it up because I'm full ammo. But like if there's an upgraded gun or upgraded like armor or whatever.
Yep. You pick up the things you need.
Correct.
or don't
You
have.
upgrade, right? That's
Yep.
the word I was looking for. So you upgrade the piece that you need, okay? Here's what's really cool. That's exactly what happens in the body. So if I have 100 calories of cereal or you have spinach and eggs, 100 calories of that, think about what you're going to loot. You run over the dude with cereal, you're like, I don't need any of that.
Nothing there.
There's nothing there. So you killed that dude, in the video game. You take his cash. You don't pick up any loot because the dude's broke. You got a old cheesy revolver. What's that going to do in this game?
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
Okay. Now you put protein in. You're over one of those guys that just drops everything. I don't know what, some hero dude.
Yep.
You run over him and you got all these pieces you can pick up and you're there for a long time because you're switching your gun, you're switching your armor. You're like, dang, this dude was loaded. That's if you sit down and have a super good nutritious meal.
That's what your body does.
That's what your body does with your brain. Your brain's like, hey, here's an order. And your gut's like, let's go. And it's like literally firing up the grill on Thanksgiving or Christmas.
So the body transmits through the gut the protein that we present.
Correct.
And the more beneficial that meal is, the easier that can get sent back up to the brain.
More nutrition, more options.
So in that analogy of the cook, you're not trying to cook and make a bowl of cereal with no milk. You have way more ingredients to work with.
Correct.
Perfect.
So watch this. You even order a bowl of cereal. If I'm a really good cook, I can level up your cereal.
Are you going to say no?
Right. No, I can level up your cereal, right? I can give you whole grain instead
Or
of like
better
whatever.
cereal. Yep.
I can give you some with less sugar. And then you're not watching like we do. Sneak some protein powder in there, right? Give you this little protein shake to go, oh, here's a bowl of cereal, but here's a protein shake. See how we just leveled up your game now. I'm not going to take away what you eat because that's all you eat right now, but I'm going to level up your game. Make sense?
Yeah,
You know?
I like when you told the Musketeers guy, because what we do, and this is what I do, is I go, okay, cool, I'm going to start a new diet. And so then you're like, today I'm eating spinach and salmon all day long for 4 weeks.
That'll last for 3 days.
Yeah, and it lasts for 2 days. But instead of doing that, you keep some bad and then slowly replace the good. And then I'm sure the more you do that, the less likely you're going to want to keep the bad when you see the benefits of the good.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
so you slowly start to just taking one thing at a time to remove that.
Yes. Just stop and think about this for a moment. In everything else in life, we know that there's baby steps to any kind of leveling up or performance. Okay.
Right.
But when we all of a sudden get a goal, because we heard a guru on YouTube or something, right? We're like,
listen to our podcast.
listen to my podcast. Like, I'm going to renew my mentals today. And well, here's what happens. Like, nobody goes from 0 to 100 until you decide, I'm going to change this for me. Everybody gets just gangbusters going all out. And then they crash and feel guilty. And now what happened is they go back and accept that stigma again. I've always been here. I've never amounted to anything. You know, my stepdad was right. Like, and so they look back at that tag and they identify with that tag. And here's my point. Like, you get it now because you have to keep who you are, but you integrate. Okay. So let's back up. The boys, when I started changing, we need to do a show on that, by the way. 2006, you graduated. I was 259 and I had an awakening.
I mean, some of the pictures say maybe 265, might be 270.
Bro, only thing that saved me in those pictures were my shoulders. Cause I was just like, you can see a little bit of definition there, but what blew up inside of me? Like, okay. But here's the thing. Remember we went to no cereal, went to eggs.
Yeah.
Okay. How'd we do it? We went every other day. We just put a chart on the fridge and I said, you guys get cereal and then eggs, cereal, eggs. We kind of did that.
So I do a Stella.
Yeah. And then what happened is Tavian came to me one day on a Friday and he was like, hey dad, I want eggs today. And like, Friday is a cereal day. Cause I actually didn't make them. And he was like, no, it's a spelling test. I want eggs today. I'm like, why? You go inside. I'm like jumping up and down. And he was like, well, because Fridays are my spelling.
Your excitement.
Yeah. Cause I'm like, dude, this is working. And Friday, he's like, Dad, we got a spelling test today. I'm like, okay, you killed those. He's like, but he's like, when I'm taking my test, other classes are being released to lunch and I can smell food. He's like, and I hear them walking. He's like, and I get distracted. And I'm like, so how's eggs going to help that? They're still going to get dismissed before you. And he goes, because on eggs days, Dad, I never get hungry until I get to lunch. I was like, let's go. So the research on a bowl of cereal is you get about 45 minutes of focus because it's a spike because of sugar and then a carb crash.
Okay.
And that's what he's experiencing, right? So he's depleted for about 2 hours before lunch. So all of it, he's completely wiped out.
Yep.
But on egg day, right? So 2 eggs will give you about 2 hours of focus. Plus 1 egg gives you 6 grams of protein. And 1 egg gives you 9 essential amino acids for your brain, which you don't get anywhere else. So just by 1 egg, you level up so many games. It's just crazy.
What if someone doesn't like eggs? Then what? Oatmeal?
How about egg beaters? No, don't like eggs. Okay, egg whites, don't like eggs.
Don't like
no
egg
eggs.
whites, don't like eggs.
Okay,
don't
then
like
think
anything
outside the
EG.
box.
Okay.
Like breakfast has been monitored or marketed to us. Like you have to have breakfast. That's just a marketing tool. So I get kids to eat a brat for breakfast. I get kids to eat.
You talk about the marketing that there's certain foods that are only breakfast and
yes,
certain foods that are only lunch.
that's dumb.
I thought about that the other day because I wanted some broccoli, but it was only like 9 a.m.
Wait, Bryce?
Yeah,
check.
I like
Mike,
broccoli.
check. Mike, check 1, 2. I thought you said, did you say you like broccoli?
I like broccoli.
Okay.
I just like it with like 4 steaks.
Okay, there we go.
It's a non-dried chicken with some sauce.
So what were you saying the other day? You thought
No, I was just like, man, I wanted broccoli and we have like a little dip you put it in. And I was like, man, I want that. But it was like 9 a.m. I was like, I probably should wait till noon. It was just a weird thing that
no,
I didn't think about that, but I didn't have it because I was like, oh, you can't have that for breakfast.
Okay, now listen. What if let's just think outside here. What if your brain sent that order to your gut, and your gut is signaling you, bro, we need broccoli?
Maybe because it was a weird little desire. I was like, oh man, I might have some broccoli.
Yes, this is so crazy to me because like kids essentially know. When you give them the choice, they walk toward things. When we do these gut checks, like the biome checks, people essentially have a pretty good idea. Like my big 3 that, I'm not supposed to eat that wreck my gut, right? I knew it.
Biome check, by the way, is you send a little piece of your doo-doo, and then they...
Bro, you just said doo-doo.
You send a little piece of your poo-poo, and then they tell you...
That's worse.
Okay, you take a dump in a bag, and you send it in to be processed.
I'm sorry.
So that they can tell you...
I got my renewing the mind like brand on this
Can
thing.
we get mom back here?
Poo-poo, doo-doo.
Wow.
Okay, what just happened?
No, so you take your poo-poo,
Okay.
and then they tell you what you should have, shouldn't have,
Basically,
what's bad
like
for you.
what wrecks your gut, what messes up your biome,
Yeah,
what throws you off, right? And then some good things for you.
So you did that test, but you already go back to what you're saying.
Yeah, so I
you already kind of knew.
I already kind of knew. And you guys know this. I know wheat wrecks me. I know it. It binds me up.
They don't stop you at Pizza Ranch, though. I've seen you.
No.
Get a bag
That's
of
not Pizza Ranch.
Doritos.
No. That's normal. That's more like Texas Roadhouse. Yeah. Oh man, yeah. There's times when I just know I'm gonna get wrecked. I'm like, all right, I'll pay the price.
You just do it anyways.
I'll pay the price.
All right, what were you saying? Sorry.
Yeah. So you get your gut biome.
Yeah.
there's things that you have to avoid because it messes up your whole biome, which throws off your whole system.
Yep.
Okay. Hormones and everything. And then there's parts where you're good. You can do it. Right. And then there's a situation where you have your superfoods. Now, I don't know exactly the research because they're correlated. Here's the deal. Correlated means two things co-occur. Like if I get bad sleep, I'm probably moody. We don't know for sure that sleep caused it because it might have been nutrition, but I know they co-occur. They go together. Right. So in a lot of these things, it's not causal. Causal is like what we know with smoking. We know for a proven fact, smoking causes cancer.
Yep.
Do you get the causal?
Yep.
Okay. So these things aren't causal, but they're correlates. They go together.
Yep.
So I know that when I have wheat, that it's going to mess me up. Okay. So then we have superfoods, which is super cool. Like all the foods I try to get mom to eat because I tell her it'll help her gut. She didn't like it. And so like watermelon's in her superfood. And I'm like, let's go. Me and Lou, we will love watermelon, but we can't get mom to eat it. But now she eats it with us. Okay. So the gut biome, stuff like that helps you just to understand, like, I got to push toward this. But when people check those things, they inherently kind of have an idea. They're like, dude, I knew sauerkraut would be good for me. I'm like, how'd you know? They're like, because after I eat it, like I don't have gas or I don't have diarrhea.
Right. Or when I eat it, it causes this.
Yeah. Eat it causes this. And so people inherently know, but then they go, nah, they push away from it.
Yep.
So when you say things like this, like, hey, I should have broccoli, go do it. The only thing you got to check is you like wake up, be like, yeah, Dairy Queen's calling me. Like, yeah.
All right. So anything else? Stigma, transition between mental and physical health, protein. So what do we do with all this?
Basically, here's the idea. You have to take one step at a time. So with the protein pieces, I tell people this, like, change what you can. So with kids, like beef jerky, deer sticks, things like that, like Valencia. So for her, when she packs her lunches.
So don't just jump to dry chicken.
No.
Get a baby step
and by the way,
in the direction.
By the way, that was that dude's only choice. Like,
sure.
We went around and around and around, and I got tons of ideas, but I was like,
that's all he stuck with.
He's like, well, once in a while, I'll eat a dry chicken breast. What?
Said no one ever.
Eat bark?
Yeah.
Yeah. He was like, mwah, mwah.
Yuck.
Like, what? Yeah. Okay. So take one step. Like, I promise you, kids who eat literally a taco for breakfast, or kids who eat a brat for breakfast, or parents will make them hamburgers at night and they give them just a basic hamburger, or
just the patty.
Yep. Something like that. Or even like get them started somewhere. Like some of them have a Jimmy Dean's, like a Jimmy Dean's brand breakfast sausage. Put it in the microwave and get it. Okay, that's not the best, obviously, because it's prepackaged, so there's preservatives. But it's close enough because there's some protein in it. Okay. So anytime we get a kid just off the sugar wagon, which sugar is fuel. So here's the thing. The last piece about this protein is fertilizer for the brain, and protein is literally the building block of your brain, the building block of your nutrition, building block of your tissue, building block of your amino acids, which the amino acids, back to the Lego story, the amino acids is the foundation that you build on top of. And so protein builds all those things. So anytime you can level up your protein game, that's what we want to do. So I tell people, when you eat, try to go 1-to-1. So if I'm going to have one protein or one carb, I want one protein. If you try to do that, at least you're balanced. Okay. If you really want to level up, you already do some protein, you want to get better. Then I want you to do a 2-to-1. Every time you have one carb, you have to have 2 proteins. So on your plate, you should always have 2 proteins, 1 carb. That's what I do.
And all these things go back to removing that stigma.
All that goes back to
of fixing the mental health issue.
Correct, because you can't have a mental health issue without a gut health issue. Right. And now here's the chicken or the egg. But if you fix the gut, you're automatically fixing the brain. So if you can't or don't want to check into a psychologist or to a functional medicine doctor who can help you backtrack all these pieces, then what you do is you just start going, finding a nutrition person, a nutritionist. Start with a nutritionist.
Love it. Well, before we get out of here, as Marshawn Lynch said,
Go take care of y'all mentals. Go take care of y'all mentals.
Give us an action step on how we manage our mentals this week.
So the first action step is, if you at all feel like you're depressed, you need to go check out. I shouldn't say you need to. I'm asking you to.
We encourage you to
go check with your family doctor. Just call them and say, hey, I need an appointment. I want to get my blood test for vitamin D. Start there. That's your action step. Once you get that, follow those recommendations. Okay. The manage your mentals moment goes all the way back to self-talk. Because if somebody says to me, man, you're crazy. Now, I have a choice. I can be like, crazy good. I can flip it. That's what we try to teach. I'm like, crazy beast.
Flip your mindset.
Flip your mindset, right? So I can take their word and flip it, because I can't control anybody, no matter what they say. All this junk about you offended me, you're hurting my feelings. Like, I need to, sanction you for your words. Like, no, that's, no, it's not going to happen. I can't control what people say to me. Still to this day, people wreck me with words sometimes, or try to, I should say. And then I take what they have against me and I flip it. It's like, too bad they don't know, they just got me some fuel. Okay. So if somebody says something to you, you're mental, or man, you're depressed, or you're a popular term like you're psycho, you're bipolar, and kids get wrecked by that. You have mental issues. Like, man, you're mental. You should see a doctor. Are you on medication? Did you check your meds today? All these little mental wrecks that kids get. Here's your manage your mentals moment. Flip it. Very first thing you try to do, flip it. You're psycho. I'm like, psycho, good, right? You're crazy. Crazy, awesome. So you just try to run with it that way. If you can't, then here's the second piece. You have to really manage your self-talk. You can say, well, they said it to me because they're jealous, or like that girl just, she wants my man or something. You can kind of use that. But here's the thing. When you walk away, probably about 4 hours later, you're doing something, that thing will come up in your head because your mind heard it. It's going to replay it.
Yep.
And if you identify with it, now it's you're wrecking you. And if you wreck you have an identity now. Now I've identified with that's who I am. All right. Yep. So when people used to call me retard at school because I was in special ed for reading and dyslexia, I really accepted it. So if next time I'm working on an assignment and I hear this in my head, retard, I'm like, oh, I'm just retarded. And I would just break stuff, just whatever, take off running.
Yep.
And that's part of the reason I used to go ride my bike. It was an anger management piece for me as a kid because I owned these pieces. Now the self-talk piece is this. If I identify yes with what they're saying, to me, I now wreck me and I have an identity.
Because now you're replaying it over and over in your head.
Yes. And when I replay it over and over in the head, it wrecks me now because it's my voice telling me that I suck. When I tell myself something, it's an assignment to my gut to make it. Let me say that again. When I say something to me, it's an assignment to my gut to make it. I've ordered the kitchen now to make me feel sad.
Yep.
You understand that? Managing your mentals moment has to be correct your self-talk, watch your self-talk, be aware of your self-talk, coach your self-talk, because your self-talk will order from the kitchen. So if somebody says like, you're psycho, and I simply just say, no, I'm not. I'm climbing. I'm getting better. I'm getting stronger. As I talk like, you know what? I'm not there yet, but I'm going to be dope. I'm going to be the man. I'm going to be aggressive. I'm going to be more confident. Those are assignments to my gut to keep me there mentally.
I love it.
Let's go.
Before we get out of here, our nation's going through and the world is going through this coronavirus outbreak. What do we do in the midst of, the coronavirus, social distancing, and possibly a nationwide quarantine? What does that look like? What do we do?
The number one thing, and we need to talk about this next week, is take action. If you sit back, again, this goes back to the branding piece. If I just sit back and be like, man, my life's ruined, man, I can't do anything, none of that works because basically I'm taking anger out on this situation. And instead I need to embrace it as an opportunity to change. And there's so much stuff we're going to go over. This next show is going to be fire.
So next week, we're going to talk about how to handle the coronavirus, what to do in the midst of basically the world kind of being flipped upside down.
Pandemic.
I love it. Tune in next week. If you liked anything we talked about today on any level and you're listening on the podcast, whatever platform you're listening on, give us a review. A 5-star would be amazing. And if you're watching on YouTube, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and ring that bell. And then in the comments below, we really want to try to get conversations going and questions. I know the last couple, we've answered some questions and had some good discussion, but we really want to hear from you guys, your thoughts, questions regarding today's show.
Especially self-talk stuff.
Yeah, or even the gut and what to do, how to move forward. I mean, this is a lot of content.
A lot of self-talk, because if we can help people level up their self-talk, they'll be unleashed.
I love it. Well, we love you. Go renew your perspective, move towards uncertainty, and find what's awesome about that in every situation. See you later.
Peace.
I had to realize what's inside of me. For all of the people that lied to me. For all of the people that said I would fall off. Oh, boy, what a time to be alive. I wrote this for everyone, feel like they counted out. You need to look in the mirror and tell yourself it's time to be who I am now. Greatness.